So ASUS has partnered up with GoPro to create what I believe is the ultimate creator laptop for someone on the go and especially outdoors types, because this right here, the ProArt GoPro edition of the PX13 really covers all bases. So like the previous models before, we have that hinge that allows us to convert this into a 13.3-inch tablet. We have the ASUS Lumia OLED screen here. Unfortunately, only at 60 Hz, but it's 3K up to 500 nits. The build quality, excellent. And this is military standard 810H, so very durable. Backlit keyboard with the blue GoPro theme to it, and even a dedicated GoPro button on the keyboard so you can launch the GoPro player and get straight into editing, say that 360 degree footage that you may have from, say, GoPro Max 2. Now, other features of this, Wi-Fi 7 included, and the chipset, really powerful here. This is the AMD Ryzen AI Max Plus 395. Bit of a mouthful, but it comes paired with a huge amount of RAM. So it's going to be good for people running large language models because it's 120 gigabytes worth of RAM, and it's running at 8,000 mega transfer. So very quick. My model here has 2 terabytes of storage. The battery within this, well, it's 73 watt hours, and that's going to give us around about 6 to 7 hours of working time, actual working time, not just video playback. So this ProArt GoPro edition comes even in a special box here for it too as well, for our PX13 with the GoPro branding, ProArt on it, and these straps here you can use with the hard shell sleeves. So they got Velcro on them, really good, and these do come off easily. And you'll see inside, when I just lift this off, that the case, you can also use this for storage for your GoPro and other things. So we have the laptop there. Now the hard shell sleeve that it does come with this limited edition here, GoPro focused of course, so you can store accessories on the outside here. We have this little strap around here that you can strap things onto, very good. And the build quality is excellent, so great for people that are going outdoors. So you have the area here to store the laptop into, another layer to protect it, so you have this barrier so the laptop can be here, this on the top of it, so it's not going to rub against any accessories. And right here we've got a pouch so we can put the power supply and the cables in here. And at the top I've even got a spare battery and the GoPro Max 2, for example. Also included, you will find the ASUS Pen 3.0, so it's got 4096 pressure sensitive levels. I will be testing that later in this video. The ASUS Pen 3.0 charger, and a power supply, which is quite beefy. This is 200 watts, as you can see there, but a nice small compact size, and then our charging cable. The laptop is 17.7 millimeters the thickness, and it should weigh 1.39, which it does here, kilos, but that isn't our travel total weight. So if I add our power cable and then the power supply, we are looking at just under 2 kilos for a 13.3-inch laptop. I don't find that to be bad at all. So a good travel weight if you're going to be taking this with you in the charger and moving about. You see the ProArt logo right there, GoPro just here, and I love these lines on the lid. It just gives it a bit more of an industrial type look that I'm quite fond of. Now it does have a special nano coating on this to help resist smudges and fingerprints, and it seems to be holding up pretty well so far in the week or so that I've been using this. Along the back here, you can see here we have our intake there for the cooling of this, 2 rubber strips, ProArt and GoPro branding again on the back. Now the battery within this, it's 73 watt hours, and I'll talk a little bit about the battery life I'm able to get real world kind of use towards the end of the video. On the right hand side, we've got a power button that has a status LED. Now it sits quite flush, so you really need to use your fingernail to press this in, which I do like. It means you won't accidentally end up pressing this when you do move about the laptop. A micro SD card slot, that's great for you GoPro users out there, and ultra high speed 2 spec with this. Type A, and this USB port is up to 10 gigabits per second, and then a USB 4.0 Type C, which is 40 gigabits per second, data and video, and it also does support powering this device, but you won't get the full power like the actual AC plug-in, so bear that in mind if you're going to be using the performance mode or the manual mode, you are going to need to plug it in with the proper power supply. But it's a good alternative if you're traveling about just with a power delivery Type-C charger. So we have that power point right there, HDMI 2.1, another Type-C USB 4.0, 3.5mm headphone jack with mic support, which is a must, and a status LED. Another exit vent right there. And then along the back, you can see other vents here too. So that is where that hot air is going to be coming out when it is in use and working hard. So great build quality overall. The hinge is very good. So one-handed opening, yes, that is possible. And of course, you can flip that screen right around and you have the various different modes, as you can see now. So this is the standard laptop mode, which will be used, I would say, most of the time. You can put it into a tent mode, a presentation mode now, and then of course just using it as a tablet, which a lot of people will probably do. At the 1.39 kilos weight, it's not too bad, but you don't want to be using it for that long as a tablet. But it's a great option to have and gives us a lot of flexibility. Now the touchpad, it is nice and large here. We've got the GoPro themed backlight, you can see the blue, so the GoPro blue color. And if I swipe down here from the corner, we can turn on the little dial pad here. So this is really good to use. Where I like to use it is in Premiere Pro, especially for Seek, so you can just move ahead in the timeline, which is really good. Now, pressing down on these keys, there is really no flex. Unless I press really, really hard, I can see a little tiny bit of that. And typing, very nice feel to these keys and great key travel to them. Very comfortable keyboard and silent. Doesn't make a lot of noise. Now, great that the power button isn't where the delete key is. And yes, it looks a little bit different, my layout, because I have the localized Spanish version right here. So that's why the shift key looks a bit funny. But on all models, and with the US style keyboard, you are going to have the half size keys here for the up and down arrows, which is a little bit of annoyance. I wish they were full size and they just moved it down. But then again, I understand there are some space constraints. So back on that touchpad, works really well. Accuracy, you can just see right now my cursor there. So very good for just the finer movements. It's not going to be all jumpy and skip around or anything like that. I find the sensitivity is perfect there. It is not haptic, so you don't get the little haptic vibration or feedback from it, unfortunately. But overall, very good considering they're working with 13.3 inches for this keyboard. So I've just converted it now into the tablet mode. When you do so, the keyboard is not working and it goes into a special power mode for this tablet mode. Now with the stylus, so the ASUS Pen 3.0, the palm projection works about 1 centimeter away from the screen, as you can see. And the stylus, as I pointed out, it does have the 4096 pressure sensitive level. So I'll just quickly write something right here, my typical little test. It is very, very fast, as you'd expect. Now, I'm using Fresco here. That's from Adobe. And if I press really lightly, we should be able to see those pressure-sensitive levels. So the lighter I press, of course, you're not going to see that really. But until I start to press harder, then this should get darker, which it does. So I can clearly see that as I go along and start to press lighter, that this should start to get lighter. Okay, so the pressure sensitivity seems to work really well, really responsive. And it looks like the stylus does, I can see the little point there, work right up to the edge of the screen. And it's a very brief test of what to expect, but in my experience with other styluses, this one seems to be very good, responsive, and works as advertised. And the screen that is used here in our ProArt GoPro edition is stunning. So 13.3 inches. This is an ASUS Lumia OLED screen. Unfortunately, the refresh rate's only 60 Hz, which I think is the biggest downside to it. Apart from that, it really is stunning. So it's fully laminated. There's no ugly gap between the digitizer glass there and the touch support. Very good. I find the accuracy is not a problem. Now, it will go all the way up to 500 nits maximum brightness. I'm measuring a little bit below that, which is around 435 that I've measured with my Spider X Pro. And it does have 100% of DCI-P3 color coverage there. Adobe Premiere Pro is, for me, 93% coverage, which is perfect for professional use. And just looking at it, it's a great screen. Really very good in my eyes, especially for the size of this particular laptop there. And the only other thing to point out with the refresh rate being at 60 Hz is when you go from 120, then you move over to 60. So my other laptops are 120. In fact, the ZenBook Duo that I'm using, I do notice that difference. But if your current laptop is 60 hertz refresh rate, then you move over to this, then it won't be a massive difference for you, but I really wish it was 120, hopefully in the next model. Our ProArt GoPro edition is running Windows 11 Home. I thought it would probably be Windows 11 Pro, but of course you can upgrade that. You see the chipset that I talked about in the intro, so it's a potent chipset, even though, yes, it's been out for a little while now, it still has yet to really been beaten. When it comes to integrated graphics, especially with that Radeon 8060S, has 40 cores to it. And then our chipset side of things, well, we've got tops of 50 tops for the AI performance from that AI Max Plus 395, and 5.1 gigahertz is the maximum turbo, 16 cores, 32 threads. It is super potent. And think about that kind of power that it has that is inside such a small and thin laptop. It's pretty amazing time to be in. Anyway, storage speeds you can see there are very good. This is PCIe 4.0 and it's a 2 terabyte drive, and they are using better SSDs now, ASUS, which is so much better than what they were using a couple of years back, which I would sometimes complain about. Now, with Cinebench R23, we're getting a multi-core score of a very good 31,000 points. That is phenomenal. And I'll show you the newest version right here, which is Cinebench 2024. So for multi-core score performance, that is 1,652 points. Single core is 116. Impressive. That is really impressive stuff there. And looking at Geekbench 6, 3,000 almost for single core score. Yes, some of the Intel chips, some of the newer ones, especially the 300 series of the Ultras, now will get a single core score, and Lunar Lake, Panther Lake over 3,000, but they cannot compete with this multi-core score there of 20, almost 21,000 that I got. This is the best run here in the performance mode, mind you, of course, and really good. And with the integrated graphics, just to show you that time spy score, this is really good. About similar, in fact, it should perform better than the previous 2024 ProArt PX13s that had the RTX 4060 in them. We're talking similar performance, but the CPU is so much more powerful. So I don't see it as a downgrade at all. In fact, this to me is an upgrade, having this particular chipset, which is just an absolute powerhouse. Now, for included software, we have MyASUS, and I've shown this before with all of my videos from their particular products that I've covered, and I won't go into too much detail here. So you get all your system updates. I've updated everything. There were some driver updates and the typical there. So one of them is for the graphics. So that's where you get everything. Then you have all the different settings. Now, the important ones are the operating modes. So you can use Function F to switch through them. So you have a manual mode, whisper mode, standard, and performance mode. So this is controlling power levels and the fan. So if you need it to be quiet, obviously you put it into the whisper mode. You've got a few other settings in here. Now, this is where you can change the dedicated memory to that Radeon 8060S. So I've gone to 32 gigabytes per second. Now, if you are doing large language models, you're doing a lot of AI stuff, then of course you're going to need all that RAM, because this has a huge amount, 128 gigabytes, as I said there in the intro. So that's where you can change it. I'm going with 32 because that's just a good number for me. In fact, I could probably just use 16. Those are the options we get, right up to 96 gigabytes that we can allocate to the integrated graphics, which is, yeah, that's a lot. Now, with the noise cancellation here, this is an option you can set if you're going to be using that. Now, I would keep that on the authentic, and that's what I'm going to use for my samples later on. And the rest is kind of straightforward stuff, so I won't go any further with that, but it's very useful software, so none of that is bloatware at all. The other here, so we do have the Pro Creator Hub, where we can get information on our ProArt GoPro edition. So you can see things like the load on the CPU, GPU, and this is where you find manual mode. Now, I do stress a bit of caution with this. The manual mode, this is for our power limits. You can go along and you can set everything to 85 watts. This is how we can get the 85 TDP maximum. But just bear in mind, if you're doing something really demanding, this system temperatures will go up. So you have the different fan curves right here. and you can customize that too as well and set up one. So you have the CPU fan and the CPU auxiliary fan. There's 2 fans in this, and you can set up a new little mode here. So again, software that is very handy, good to have these options that you can customize and tweak things, which some manufacturers don't allow us to really do at all, especially when it comes to things like power limits. We have built in the Muse tree, and this one, StroyCube, integrated now with, of course, GoPro. So you can go and import even your GoPro media library. So you can have that, which is in the cloud. You can go along and just import those files. So one that's very handy to have. You can see some of the files you have got, and it will categorize things according to users' AI. For things like if you're skiing, that it will know and detect that okay, that's skiing. This one here, I'm in fact using a road bike. So you'll be able to search that and can organize everything. You can see the free 360 content, although no supported files found. I don't know why that's not showing up, because those are in fact .360 files there from my GoPro. But that is where you're going to be able to find all of that. And finally, we have this, which is, of course, the dedicated GoPro button, which is F8 and the GoPro. Pressing that, it brings us to our GoPro media player. So something that's built in specific to this model, of course, with their collaboration, ASUS and GoPro. So I can now take out from my Max 2 and insert the micro SD card into our GoPro, well, ProArt GoPro, and then go and open that media. Now, what is handy about this is I can go along and look at some of my files here, and you get to view this to 360, and you've got hyper smooth. You can level the horizon, edit this all from the particular player here. So it's great that you can look at those 360 files. In fact, I'll just go and open up another one here, one that I think is a little bit better to demonstrate. Okay, so just playing this, and I'm allowed to go along here now and then change the view, because this, of course, being 360, I can decide to have a look at all different angles. There's me just riding my bike, and I've got all that footage. Go along, level that, recenter it if need be. It's very handy, and I can go along and export these files now, because we have a setting up here to export those to an MP4. So you can set the resolution you want with the export as. Let's just go here to 8K. These are the options you do get, as you can see. So you've got the directional lock, the horizon level, anti-shake, which of course you really do want to have most of those, and even bitrate. You can tweak that, and you see where you can export that file as an MP4. So having that built in, brilliant for creators, especially like people, well, like myself. I do e-bike reviews, and this is very handy for me to have to use with my GoPro Max 2. So it's great to have the StroyCube with the GoPro all integrated. Fantastic. But if you get this laptop, you also get a subscription to GoPro Premium Plus, and it's 12 months. That is included. So very handy there to upload and use that for all of your GoPro files. Now, my video editor of choice is Adobe Premiere Pro, which I'm testing out right now. And what's the performance like? So the timeline here, very good. Let's just move ahead. That it is quick. So you can see some of my GoPro footage in there that I've recorded. But all of the start here, the intro, is in fact 8K footage. I've got an 8K drone and 8K camera that I used.
New colors with it, but
and
the
it's
big
playing
one
this back
is
really quite smooth.
The frame geometry
okay,
and
at
the
times
writing
there's a
dynamics
few little
has
stutters,
been
but it's
greatly
doing an excellent job
improved
considering
compared to the
this
previous
is
model.
demanding 8K
Now it's got a
footage.
Samsung.
Now, my review here of this e-bike that I've worked on, in fact, I've done it all on this ProArt GoPro edition, edited the whole lot, and you can see it's about a 10-minute review. Exported that, and it took just under 13 minutes. So I don't think that's bad time at all. That was the YouTube preset, 4K, so it does have to downsample some of the 8K footage that's in there. And overall, I think not a bad result. I'm very, very pleased with the performance. And again, it's such a nice thin package with the OLED screen and everything is brilliant. So great for content creating, editing videos, exporting, importing your GoPro footage. It just does it all. So I'm really happy about that. The ProArt GoPro edition does have dual speakers. They're downwards firing and they do support Dolby Atmos. Overall, they're good. They could have a little bit more bass to them, but factoring in how slim it is, and the weight of it, I don't think they've done a bad job. So the volume is the good part here. Now, I do have enabled the volume booster option through the settings, so that's boosted it up a little bit. And overall, you'll hear that it's loud and not bad, I think, for the size of this laptop. So with that potent integrated graphics that it has, the Radeon 8060S, yes, it can game. You're looking at RTX 5060, just below that kind of performance. Laptop chip, that is. So this is Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm going to run these settings here. So the quick preset, high, run the benchmark, and this is the result. 106.41 frames per second average, which is excellent. Now the resolution's 1920 by 1200, and again, that is the high preset that I did use. So lowering it, you can improve that frame rate, of course. And this is where I feel that, oh, that screen at only 60 hertz. If it was 120 hertz, it would have been great for not just the gaming, but everything would be so much smoother. And can it even game at 4K? It depends. If it's an older title like this one, The Witcher 3, on high settings, you can see I'm gaming at over 60 frames per second here at 4K, which I don't think is bad at all. Now, when you get into areas with a lot more to render, the frame rate will dip down to 50, 55 or so that I've seen. But out here, it is looking good over 60 frames per second. Now, high preset, so I could lower this down to medium to keep a steady 4K 60, which is probably what I would do. And the last gaming test here is an in-game benchmark again, and it's 1440p, the resolution I'm going with. High is the graphics preset, and the game is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And that gives us an average frames per second of 90. Not bad at all considering it's 1440p and the high preset. So yes, it's a capable gaming laptop as well, although of course that is not the real focus of it. Quick webcam sample now, so 1080p, 30 frames per second. I've got a Windows Studio effect on the moment, and that is to blur out the background. I can just turn that off now. It'll probably help out the frame rate. So I'm using standard lighting at the moment, not my powerful studio light, just to give you a normal representation of what it would be like just in, say, an office environment. Microphones, they are dual rate. They are unfiltered at the moment, so I haven't applied the noise cancellation or anything like that through the settings. So what you hear is what you get with it if you turn that off. They're very good microphones. And yes, we do have facial recognition. There is an infrared camera with this, so that allows us to use Windows Hello to log in instead of passwords. Then looking at our thermals and the fan noise. So I can see that we got up to almost 90 degrees Celsius, maximum wattage pulled. By now, our Ryzen AI Max Plus 395 is almost 109 watts. Not too bad there. And what about that fan noise? So in the performance mode, yes, you're going to hear it. And especially when you start to do something demanding like editing video, 3D work, or if you're doing some AI stuff, you're really pushing this hardware, you're going to hear it. So the fan sample I'm giving you now is in that performance mode. And it is, you can hear, definitely noticeable. It's not as bad as some gaming laptops, but similar kind of noise once it's really working hard. So here's that sample. Linux support is looking very good. So the touchscreen was working for me. I noticed that the Wi-Fi 7 card works too as well. And I did use the latest build of Linux Manjaro. So great news for Linux support with the ProArt GoPro edition. So this laptop's got a lot going for it for those creators on the go, having integrated GoPro into StroyCube. The fact that you also get the GoPro Premium Plus 12 months subscription for free. That's a $99 US value. Build quality excellent, so military grade, and that's 810H that it passes. So that's a lot of tests, so it's very, very strong. The backlit keyboard is excellent with the GoPro Blue. Got the dedicated button for launching the GoPro Play. Again, very handy for, as I showed, for editing that 360 footage, say from a Max 2 that I have here, that 8K 360 footage. Touchpad, excellent. The ASUS dial pad. And then we have a screen that is the ASUS Lumia OLED. So 3K resolution, 500 nits, HDR, super deep blacks. Very good screen. Touch works great. And we have the ASUS Pen 3.0 support on it. But this comes to my biggest gripe and con of this laptop. Something that I don't know why this passed, but it has, that it's only 60 Hertz. So this screen being 120 Hertz, the refresh rate, I think would have made this almost a perfect on-the-go creator laptop. That balance of having just fantastic power, portability, and the design that you can convert it into a tablet if need be and use it in various different modes is very, very handy to have. So that is a disappointment there. Another thing I've discovered is that the battery life, a real kind of world look at battery life. Now, I don't do those video tests where I'm looping 1080p video or 720p and it runs for 10 or 12 hours. I find that very unrealistic. So this is my own personal use. It's going to vary, of course, but I've been able to get around 5 to 6 hours out of this only. And that's Chrome, documents, PDF files, answering emails, a little bit of video editing, nothing too heavy, not 8K video editing, but 4K. And I found that result to be average. I wish it was better, but it's only a 73 watt-hour battery within this. Now, that capacity in itself for a 13.3-inch laptop is very good. Remember, the weight is only 1.39 kilos, so it's not too bad. The fan can get quite loud when you are gaming, but that chipset, the Ryzen AI Max Plus 395, wow, it is so good that integrated graphics in it. So the Radeon 8060S, and you can dedicate up to 96 gigabytes of RAM to that at that very fast 8,000 mega transfers. Fantastic. And if you're using AI, you've got the 50 tops from the NPU, and it's going to be great for large language models having so much RAM, the 128 gigabytes on board here, Wi-Fi 7 there too as well. So all up, it is excellent. It's going to be a pricey laptop. I don't know the exact pricing at the time of this video, but my estimate is somewhere with my configuration around and towards, I would say, the 3,000 US mark. So it's pricey, but you are getting a fantastic laptop with the ProArt GoPro edition of course, the PX13 here. Thanks a lot for watching this video.